I don't know where this disrespectful attitude came from.
You want a piece of this, Pops? Come and get it!
Inside Out follows the story of a young girl whose emotions begin to spin out of control. This, of course, leads to a bunch of crazy and uncontrolled things happening, but you would know that you're watching a classic Pixar family film when the entire conflict is resolved in a way that brings everyone closer. It was a great movie, but it has been a long time since it was released. With the announcement of the sequel to be released next year, you can bet that fans have pulled out their thinking caps and dug out every hidden detail from the first movie that points to the plot for the second one. So buckle up, because in this video, we will highlight our top picks for hidden clues about Inside Out 2 and Inside Out. Without further delay, let's get started.
Saw a pizza place down the street. Maybe we could try that.
Pizza sounds delicious.
Riley was about to become bipolar.
We can fix this. We just need to get back to headquarters. Which way to the train station?
I had a whole trip planned for us.
This theory sounds wild, but the more you ponder on it, the less far-fetched it seems. First, a little reminder that Riley is the host of 5 different primary emotions that make her who she is. There is fear, disgust, anger, sadness, and joy. But as the story unfolds, we understand that while everyone has these emotions, one emotion would take the center stage, and the kind of memories that become core memories are determined by the dominating emotion. Take a look at Joy and how she wanted only memories associated with joy to be stored as core memories. What you might not have realized is that sadness was just as dominant as joy. Unfortunately, Joy is a control freak and would not let sadness do anything. As a result, Riley is unable to develop emotionally. Before the movie ends with Joy accepting Riley's sadness, it is evident that joy and sadness are front and center of her decision-making process. When you think about it, joy and sadness are polar opposites, and a struggle between these two is obviously the basis of a bipolar disorder. Yes, all's well that ends well, and Riley's joy and sadness have accepted each other and found a way to work together. But who is to say that this is the end of the road? Riley returns in the second movie as a teenager, which makes this theory even more worrying. As you may know, bipolar symptoms can develop at any time, especially in the teenage years. We love Riley, but if we put that aside, we also think that this character arc would be a little bit too dark for a Pixar film. But when we remember that they actually killed off Marlin's wife at the very beginning of Finding Nemo, it becomes hard to say that twist isn't likely for Inside Out 2. Fingers crossed, Riley doesn't have to struggle with a mental illness for the rest of her life.
Imagination Land is the best!
Oh, is it all gonna be so interactive?
Hey look! The House of Cards!
Her parents heading for a divorce.
You guys don't have to come to every game.
Are you kidding? I'm not missing one. Go, Foghorn!
Go, Riley!
Okay, I gotta go.
This might seem like a giant leap, but it really isn't. If you think back to the first movie, we get a brief glimpse into the heads of Riley's parents. The first thing we noticed was just how organized everything was. Their emotions looked so clean and certainly had everything sitting in its place. Well, now that we think about it, should the minds of middle-aged parents be so organized? Yes, there should be an obvious difference between the mind of a child and that of an adult, but shouldn't the emotions be more, we don't know, sleep deprivation or something? Anyways, when you take a look at the mind of the dad, you can see that anger has a center stage. It is not hard to actually imagine why. At some point in the movie, you can see just how much he struggles with his job. Whether it is a middle-aged crisis, the consequence of growing up as an angry kid from a broken home, or just a general hatred for his life, Riley's dad is, quite the angry bird. With that top mustache and a mind that mainly runs on anger, he might just be at the bottom of his list for likable Pixar dads. With this in mind, it's really not surprising to see that the mind of Riley's mom is basically run by sadness. As dark as this is, we can totally see why sadness would be her dominant emotion. For one, being married to someone who tends to be angry all the time is something that would take a toll on her over time. Not only could this damage her self-esteem, but she may also constantly be in fear of getting hurt, may feel disconnected from him, feel lonely and anxious, and of course, be weighed down by sadness. It gets even sadder when it is revealed that one of her fondest memories is when she almost ran off with a Brazilian helicopter pilot. Because of this, it is safe to say that tons and tons of regret have been piled up and hidden somewhere in her mind. So we do think that all of this happening in the background of Inside Out has to count for something, right? It just seems like too good a storyline to be swept under the rug. Then again, we also hope for Riley's sake that this does not boil over into a messy divorce in Inside Out 2. Riley would already be occupied with problems of her own. She definitely does not need to add dealing with a parent's divorce to her list of problems.
Yeah, it gets pretty cold. The lake freezes over, and that's when we play hockey. I'm on a great team. We're called the Prairie Dogs.
Riley is adopted.
Bing Bong, we have to get to that station.
Sure thing. This way, just past Graham Cracker Castle. Hey.
We're not sure how likely this one is, but you could say it has some elements of truth to it. At the beginning of the film, we see Riley's parents standing over their newborn daughter. But if you actually take a closer look, you will see that Riley's mom doesn't look like someone who just went through childbirth. It looks like she is standing over her, and this is something that isn't very likely. Well, if you can look past that, would you also look past the fact that Riley is a blonde with blue eyes, whereas both her parents have brown hair and brown eyes? If you don't believe that this will open up the possibility that Riley is adopted, then at the very least, it will give you something to think about.
Hey, Sadness, did you hear about the party that we're having?
Oh, yeah.
The different genders in Riley's mind.
Great.
What do you mean it's stuck?
Now what?
No! Whoa, what is this?
Now let us go back into the minds of Riley's parents. Take a closer look at the layout inside their minds, and you'll notice something very striking. All the emotions in her father's head are male, while those in her mother's head are female. Now, as you must have already noticed, Riley's emotions have different genders. On the surface, this could simply be the result of the fact that Riley is young and has not gone through puberty yet. At this stage, it is likely that she has not really settled into who she wants to be, so things like sexuality and gender are still yet to be determined. Or maybe she has thought about it and is actually still confused about her identity. If Riley turns out to be different, well, we can imagine how her parents would take it in. Her father might be furious and her mother might grow even sadder. Ultimately, we know that no matter what happens, her parents love her for who she is. It would be interesting to see this play out in Inside Out 2. We can't say for sure if this would even come up in the second movie because Pixar does not usually dive into this kind of sensitive topic for its films. We just have to wait till Inside Out 2 arrives so we can finally still fill in the blanks.
All right, Edward, take
Give us that bug for your dead feet. On our left, on our left.
Let's just try not to get all smelly this time.
The brain is the mastermind.
There's a station in Imagination Land. I know a shortcut. Come on, this way.
Just a little something to wrap your head around. The brain is more complex than any other known structure in the universe. Forgive us, but we would never miss an opportunity to go off about just how complex the human brain is. You won't realize this at first, but when you eventually get it, the whole movie makes even more sense. At first look, you would observe that Riley's other emotions have taken a back seat and have let Joy run the show. They turn to her for advice and also allow her to boss them around. While you might not think that Joy is the big boss, there is something more all-powerful than she is, and that is Riley's brain. If you really think about it, you will realize that the brain is the reason joy and sadness get sucked into the long-term memory. The brain was also behind the control panel turning gray. All those events in Riley's head that seemed likely accidents were not accidents at all. They were all planned by the brain. Now you might be wondering why. It's easy. Joy had prevented Riley from feeling sad for so long that it was probably killing the brain. Everything that happened was like the brain's way of preventing a mental breakdown and ultimately resetting itself. By forcing Joy to see the benefits of other emotions, the brain has saved itself. This opens up the possibility for a more complex take on the human brain for Inside Out 2.
What's happening?
No, they turned it on.
Never seen this before.
Ah!
My face!
What do you think of these hidden details, and which would you like to see play out in Inside Out 2? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and share this video. Subscribe to the channel as well and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming videos like this.
Joy, yes, Joy, you'll be in charge of the console, keeping Riley happy all day long. And may I add, I love your dress, it's adorable. Oh, this old thing, thank you so much. I love the way it twirls.